Thank you for auditing the always positive new music review show hosted by a French professor who's still been having a rough week. It's alright. I'm not going to bore you with the details, but it's been hard for me to listen to music as much as I normally do for personal reasons. But I was excited to review this album by Paramore. The album is called This Is Why, and this is why I want to talk about them. I want to talk about them because I've never listened to them. I could not tell you a single song by Paramore before I started to review this video. And you might wonder, why not? Well, this is why I didn't. I had all sorts of resistance to Paramore. And most of those resistances, I don't edit my video, so please tell me, how would you spell the word resistance? The reason I resistanced it so much, there's multiple reasons. Number one, and this is the most important, I talk about it all the time on my channel, when I turned like 24, 25, I had mid-20s music death, which many people suffer from, so I just shut myself off to new music. That was around 2002, 2003, so the entire time Paramore existed, up until I started my channel in 2018, I missed. So their entire existence, I missed. I was aware of them. I still pay a little bit of attention to the Grammys, a little bit of attention to pop radio. I was like vaguely aware they existed, but I didn't care. And so that's the first, that even if they were good, I probably wouldn't have heard them. Then I was sort of vaguely aware that they were in the realm of the sort of neo-emo movement. And I mean, I'm a hipster emo hater. Like, I disliked emo back when it was real. I had a friend, Ted, who was really into emo music, the original first generation emo music, and I remember thinking it was annoying then. I've since revised my perspective. It's a fine genre of music with lots of good musicians and acts, but that was the sort of next phase. Now, the last set of confusions are the worst, and they're the most embarrassing for me. And these are the ones that you, my dear Paramore fans, are going to be so mad at. You're going to break your keyboard hitting the thumb down button. But all I can do is just plead ignorance, and it's being ignorant is not the worst thing. Not admitting to your ignorance, or not acknowledging it, is the real problem. I'd like to remind you that ignorance comes from the Greek meaning not knowing, okay? So it's not just that I'm stupid, it's more that I'm ignorant. In my mind, I had no idea that the following bands were different bands. I'm not saying I didn't recognize there were 3 different names, but in my head they were just grouped together as one general thing. Paramore and Evanescence. I didn't know until I did this video that one of them was like, yeah, like I don't know, I overheard them. Listen, statistically you're younger than me. This is going to happen to you unless you pay a lot of attention. Bands are going to show up and you're just going to sort of not realize that they're different bands until you really sit down and think about it. Hell, even Florence and the Machine, I think I might have gotten mixed in with this. You might notice a little connection there, a little similarity. They all have female front men. Let's revisit that wording. They are all fronted by female singers. And that's where we get to another theme that I like to visit on this channel, which is my phantom misogyny. The misogyny that exists in me, despite the fact I have taught classes in women and gender studies, okay? I am a feminist, and I will say I'm a feminist as loud as I possibly can. That doesn't mean I wasn't socialized in a very masculine way, and it doesn't mean I don't live in a very sexist society. And so one of the ways that manifests itself with me is I have, up until I started doing this channel, not really analyzed my bias against female musicians. So I just sort of, especially if the lead singer is pretty, I just sort of think, oh, I don't know, industry plant, not going to be good, not for me. They're just biding their time till they get a makeup deal. Bleh. A bunch of weird sexist stuff, which I don't agree. Now, please, you don't need to take off the thumbs down, because that's a bunch of odious stuff I just said. And it makes me look bad. I'll tell you, I'm not alone. A lot of people are that kind of ignorant. But fortunately, thanks to this channel, thanks to this effort to be more open-minded, I'm able to overcome that. And so the real thing that stopped me, because I've listened to so many great female-led bands in the last 5 years that, I've basically completely undone that weird prejudice that I used to have through exposure. I will never get rid of the prejudice against mainstream rock and roll. Mainstream rock and roll has to be dead. It can't possibly be good. Now, underground, indie, college rock, okay, fine. But in my mind, and maybe that'll change over time, there's not the Rolling Stones and the Beatles and Aerosmith and other sort of mainstream rock and roll bands that had a sort of authentic beginning and authentic existence for a long period of time are just gone. In their place is Coldplay if you're lucky, Maroon 5 if you're unlucky. In both cases, I would say you're pretty unlucky. So Paramore had the 1-2 punch of a female lead singer that I didn't understand, and being a mainstream rock band. So I wasn't planning on reviewing this album. Yeah, I wasn't going to, because I don't give negative reviews, and I'm like, oh, great. I'm going to listen to this album, and it's going to remind me of the music of the Orbs, or whatever the hell the Coldplay album was, and I'm just going to... Because what I was expecting was some kind of overproduced, perfectly polished, formulaic, adult contemporary rock. And this was not that. I was expecting Maroon 5, and what I got was basically high quality post-punk rock and roll. Lots of great clean guitar lines. By clean guitar lines, I mean single notes as opposed to chords on guitars that are undistorted. They sound like, Fender Stratocasters to me, but they might be some other sort of clean guitar. Very what I call melodic drums, which are like drum lines. They're not actually playing melody, but they have character. They feel like they're drum lines that are written with purpose. They're drum lines that are written with a sense of molding the song. Sometimes drummers are just there. Sometimes drummers almost lead the band, and that's the sense that I get. The bass is always strong. It's always anchoring. It's not overproduced. There's not too many layers. There's not too many things going on here. The only sort of formulaic rock and roll thing I picked up here, formulaic pop thing I picked up here, is that the song structure is awfully predictable. Verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, that kind of thing. Like, when the bridge is coming. It was hard for me to not feel like there wasn't someone from the studio being like, oh yeah, we're going to need a bridge. So just put something together. That's the main weakness of this album. Some of the bridges are a little bit weak. So I've mentioned everything about the band. I mentioned the drumming and the guitar and the sparse keyboard work and what else? What else is there about Paramore? Oh right, the front man, the lead singer, Hayley Williams. So the funny thing about me, for you, the Paramore fan, is that I've reviewed 2 Hayley Williams albums. I really liked, especially the first. Actually, no, I like them equally. I like them a lot. I really like both the Hayley Williams albums. And what I've realized is this, and this might blow your mind, or maybe you feel the same way. Maybe it's a pedestrian thing to say. Maybe it's exactly what Fantano said. So I'm not doing as many videos as normal because I spend way too much time in hospitals and morgues these days. But 2 episodes in a row, Fantano releases his video the second I'm about to record, which is annoying to me because I don't want to make it seem like I'm trying to ride his shirt tails, his yellow flannel shirt tails. Anyways, I haven't seen his review. I'm sure it's great. So I've only listened to Hayley Williams. That's it. And what I've realized is that I like Hayley Williams more when she's on her own. Okay? So Hayley Williams, the singer and songwriter, I prefer as Hayley Williams. But I prefer the music overall of this album, of Paramore. So I don't know what to do with that. How is it that I like the lead singer more when she's solo, but I like the band more than I like the solo act? There it is. Maybe you feel the same way. Maybe you're going to give me a thumbs up now and subscribe because that's kind of an interesting take, more than just some weird recovering misogynist. The thing that's interesting about her and her positioning is a lot of her lyrics, this is going to sound insulting, I don't mean it that way, are very high schooly, like they're sort of like on the nose, sort of cute. I don't mean that in a gendered way. I mean that in the way of just like, like not, it's because I'm so used to her very poetic other two albums. They very much feels like they could be very good precocious lyrics written by a high schooler. At times she's very preachy. She sort of takes on sort of a, I don't know, sort of like a Madonna interview or like a Bono interview. At times she reminds me a little bit of Lindsay Bluth from Arrested Development. She has this sort of self-centeredness, but then she has the awareness. And that's what saves everything. A lot of this album appears to be about the awareness of self-centeredness. The awareness of self-centeredness in a post-COVID world. The awareness of self-centeredness in a post-2020 world. 2020, post-2020, that implies the sort of far-right shift towards totalitarianism and right-wing populism, in addition to the effects of COVID, all of that. So it's her self-awareness, which I can't tell if it's what we call lampshading, where she's being very solipsistic, which is a term for navel-gazing, the sort of the philosophical belief that the self is all that matters. I can't tell if she's just lampshading her solipsism by being like, I am so solipsistic. Anyways, here's another 3 songs about me and how I am, and this is me. Or if it's actually an interesting commentary on herself and a commentary on solipsism. I don't know. But I will tell you this. The best song on the album is an awesome song, and I'm sure will end up being one of the best songs of the year by any artist. But that's not my example song. For every album, I have one example song, and whenever possible, I like it to be the first song, and whenever possible, I like it to be the title track. So this is why I'm choosing This Is Why, click on the banana above the bananas, to hear the song This Is Why, the opening track. This has so much of what makes this such a great album. And is this how they normally sound, Paramore fans? What do you call yourself, by the way, if you're a big Paramore fan? Paratroopers? If you're a paratrooper, can you tell me, is this, how they normally sound? Because how the hell was I not listening to this before? This is exactly what I like. Very cool, bendy, almost surf-like guitar, kind of stabby, then it leads into a super awesome bass and drum groove, and then eventually the guitar comes back, some slight echo sounds, so much cool guitar work here, and all this is leading up before even the lead singer comes on. And I haven't said this about Hayley Williams, but she's a lead singer, with a capital L and capital S. She has that charisma, she has that presence, which you have to have. And if you don't have it, you're just stuck, right? You just don't have it. She definitely has it. There's this great drum work in the pre-chorus, especially. Maybe you're a big paratrooper and you haven't noticed how good the drummer is. I don't even know the drummer's name. There's a couple of brothers who used to be in the band. Pharaohs? Is it Pharaoh? Is that the name of the drummer? I don't know. But just great pre-chorus work, and then also in this kind of pre-chorus, they sort of, it seems as though Hayley Williams keeps herself on kind of a vocal leash, that she's capable of acrobatics, but she knows that it's maybe not tasteful to just be constantly acrobating all over the place, doing somersaults and triple flips and Lindsays and Lutz. So, at times, she lets out the leash a little bit, and then she comes back. A very cool, aggressive, catchy chorus, these interlocking chords. It's really rocking. The way it goes between the chorus and then the groove of the verse is just super awesome. At times there's battling guitars as well. Now listen, I'm not going to compare this band to Television just because the lead guitarist of Television died last week. But I do like the band Television. I'm not a super fan, but I like it. But definitely that kind of post-punk, guitar-led, interlocking guitars, single-note cleanness, that's a lot of what I'm hearing here. There's even sort of a pre-bridge that gets kind of jammy and loose. And this is the thing, what I fear. Because, when I think about, these kinds of bands that I've been ignoring, take Panic at the Disco, right? Panic at the Disco just broke up, but it's a joke because Panic at the Disco didn't exist. Panic at the Disco has been Brandon Urie and a bunch of studio musicians for the past couple albums, right? So I was sort of expecting that to be the case. And certainly, if you look at the timeline of the band, there's only a couple original, I think there's only, 2 original members who are still in the band? So I sort of expected it to feel like Hayley and the Haylettes, but it isn't that. It's a real band. The way they interact matters. The cover is all three of them. Although I don't know why the bass player didn't make it onto the cover. Like it is a real band making real music. And that's the main reason that I have a hard time with a lot of this sort of mainstream, what is left of rock and roll, is it doesn't feel like a band, it feels like a producer and a bunch of studio musicians. And then the bridge is interesting. I sort of criticized the bridges on this album, but it's good. It's good and it's dark. And what I like about it is this lyric, "One step beyond your door might as well be a free fall." That's where I'll segue into these lyrics on the song, which start off sort of about like, I shouldn't have an opinion or I should. And I couldn't figure out what their position is. But we get in this concept of leaving your house as being a free fall. And this is very much a post-COVID song, probably a post-COVID album. I think this song would go quite well with Bo Burnham's Inside as a piece of reflective material about the COVID era, about the post-2020 era that we are living in. This is why I don't leave the house. You say the coast is clear, but you won't catch me out. Oh, why? This is why. In her words, you think after a global pandemic of effing biblical proportions and the impending doom of a dying planet, the humans would find it deep within themselves to be kinder or more empathetic or something. So that's what she wants. She wants more empathy in the world and she doesn't see it. So she's not leaving. So this is why... This is why this reminds me of the Bo Burnham piece as well, because we have this idea that we were all forced inside, and then once we're inside, we're like, well, let's look out, let's see what's out there. And all we see is sort of like division and rising populism, sort of like bitter trolls from every angle. What's outside? You know what? I'm going to stay inside. I'm just going to stay inside. This is why I don't leave the house. It's not like a... introvert song. It's if anything, sort of a misanthropic song. Like people are bad, but it's not really misanthropic because there's the hope. That's the thing. You get the sense that she hopes that the world is better, but it's not. Next song is called "The News," a song where the lyrics bugged me so much I almost didn't review this album. There's war on the other side of the world, and behind my eyes there's a war as well. So this is that honest solipsism, okay? That honest egocentrism, where she's talking about how she can't relate to the fact there's a war. She's probably talking about the Ukraine conflict, or the invasion, the slaughter committed by Russia. But then comparing it to her own headache, like... Hey, Hayley, it doesn't matter. Your headache doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're having a hard time processing the news, if you're having a hard time with the impotence of watching the news, because watching the news is an act of impotence. You can't do anything. You just learn about something. There's an earthquake in Syria. This is terrible. And you see the people dying. And then you go, what? You can't do anything. And I understand that causes a headache. But... that's not the problem. That's not meaningful or important that it bothers you. It's the people who are trapped in the rubble that matter. But she's describing something that's real. She's being honest. She's talking about her own life. That's how she feels. This is that honesty of her solipsism. Oh, by the way, great, almost Devo-like guitar line. So cool. It's this kind of weird thing of back and forth with preachiness, informative, we don't know the half of it, rhetorical, deplorable. Turn off the news. Don't turn off the news. No. Be a discerning news consumer. Can we say that? That's not as catchy of a song. But turning off the news is... a thing that the people in power who are mistreating other people want you to do. It is good to be apprised of the news. The problem is when you get overwhelmed and when your emotions get manipulated. I don't know. That's not the point of this channel. This isn't Sky's News Roundup. I really like the way that she sings the words far, far, far away. Again, she has this restraint where she could totally do too much, but she doesn't. The image I have is I have two dogs, Bo and Toby. And I walk them on the short leash because if you don't, they're maniacs. But sometimes I have the extendable leash. And when I do, they can go out 15 feet and then, then you. Now, that's how it feels at times. Like she goes out the 15. She doesn't go all the way to the 15 feet. She goes like 8 feet. And then she realizes, oh, I don't want to get yanked. Is there a cowbell in this song? There is. Next song is called Running Out of Time. Nice rhythmic stuff, single notes, back and forth. Great, great drum works. Like there's this point in the pre-chorus where there's like a stutter step on the bass drum. I'm telling you, this drummer is really good. It's very creative. It's very interesting. Much like Hayley Williams is not doing too much. Nobody in this band is trying to do too much. It's great. Lyrically, this is another solipsistic thing. How many times am I going to say that word? I don't know. I won't say it again. So it's all about having good intentions and not doing it. And this is what I'm talking about, like high school lyrics. We're sort of like, what if I wrote a song about like how I'm always late? Yeah, oh my God, that's like so important. I'm always late when I try to go to school, but I don't know. All the teachers don't think it's cool. But also, I'm late to hang out with my friends, and they won't invite me back again. I don't know why I'm singing like Bob Dylan. That's what I mean. And she even sings about herself in the third person. She's always running out of time. And then even when you read about it in the quotes, oh, it'd be really funny to roast myself for how disorganized I am and how it impacts my everyday life. But why not? It's honest. I would rather her sing about something honest as opposed to trying to pretend to be someone that she's not. And if in her life running out of time is the thing she wants to sing about, it's a thing we can all relate. I relate to it. I'm constantly running out of time. I should be doing lesson planning. I have to write. I have to finish my PowerPoint for tomorrow, and I have to write my questions for the Wu-Tang Clan and figure out my readings for the Wu-Tang Clan. I'm going to be assigning to my students. Next song is called C'est Comme Ça. It's Like That in French. It is a French cover of the song It's Like That by Run DMC. An unexpected cover. I'm just kidding. This is kind of that early 2000s neo-disco sound, kind of like the sort of Franz Ferdinand, very engaging guitars, lots of good open hi-hats. The disco sound mainly comes from the drummer doing a 4 on the floor with the bass. I love the French. And what I love here is this is sort of it's sort of like a solipsistic suite of 3 songs. I didn't say solipsism, I said solipsistic. So there. Can't catch me. I said I wouldn't say solipsism again, and I didn't. Because it's talking about, I need a certain amount of disorder. And that's what the song's about. But there's this one lyric which is really good. Getting better is boring, but the high price of chaos, who can afford it? So it's sort of about like wanting things to be bad and the self-destructive nature that draws you towards chaos, but then ultimately the thesis of the song is to avoid chaos. And that's my suggestion to you, being a 45-year-old man who's happily married, going through a terrible week, who has a wonderful family. Don't be drawn to chaos. Let it go. Just let chaos go. It's not actually more fun. It's not actually more exciting. Great guitar work and interaction. The drums are so good. I think there's a sound here which I think it's the spring sound from the Sonic the Hedgehog video games. I don't know when will they learn that actions have consequences, but I'm pretty sure that one of the consequences of that sound is I kind of laugh. Next song is called Big Man, Little Dignity. What? Oboes. Flutes. What? Why? Where did this come from? Was there like some other album they were working on? I don't know. It's nice. It breaks it up. It's good. I thought certainly this song would be about Trump with how on the nose everything was. It's not. It's a song about some hot guy. I like to imagine this song is about Pete Davidson. I think most songs about hot guys who are annoying are about Pete Davidson these days. And he's the sort of guy that I picture. It's interesting because at this point, songs like this about women written in this way are so transparently misogynist. Like, oh, you think you're so hot, but you're just going to break everyone's heart. God, you're so lame. You're such a witchy woman. This is basically a witchy woman style song about a man, but obviously the power dynamics are different. No offense, but you have no integrity. She said no offense. But again, I love this clean guitar sound, the single note guitar line. I love the way she sort of has a little bit of poppy like la la la's. And then it has probably the best musical moment on the album is this instrumental outro with this melodic single notes on the guitar, this drummer doing very interesting things, and like this little delicate flute outro. This whole song is this unexpected bit of much more worked material. You First, this is what I thought they were going to sound like the whole time. Cool kind of almost counterpoint with the drummer. Living Well is not my kind of revenge. Even just the word revenge, I just associate that with all sorts of Hot Topic music. Why didn't my daughter like Paramore? She had, the Hot Topic face. She might have actually internalized some of the misogyny that I was unintentionally inflicting on her. Cycles are terrible. I like the lyric, everybody is a bad guy. That's true. Everybody's a bad guy. We need more moral relativism. I like how she says, I never said I wasn't petty. This is that weird sort of self-aware egocentrism of the album. This song seems 20 seconds longer than every other song. I don't know. That made me realize there's a sort of regularity to this album. I remember thinking, wow, this song is going on 20 seconds. I haven't looked at the times, but that's how I feel. Figure 8 is again sort of in a more experimental mode, kind of a trilling, automated bell sound. I like the vocals here, especially the way she says, I don't know how to stop. More hard rocking. I prefer the other more post-punk stuff. There's like this weird like metallic sound as well. Liar is the most ballady song. This reminds me a little bit of Red Hot Chili Peppers, which is usually a bad thing. Gentle intertwined voices, a little more of the kind of preachy position that she has. And it could just be an age thing. It's hard for me to listen to someone who's telling me how life is when they're 9 years younger than me or 11 years younger than me. I don't know. Drums and bass are just so strong throughout. There's this great hi-hat work that's going on here. Just really listen to the hi-hats here. Next song is called Krava, which is the Serbo-Croatian word for cow. It's called crave. Slight drone sound to the guitar. I really like how she sings the word crave. It's sort of annoying, but also cool. This song has more of like a 70s soft rock feel. But then we have like a bridge. I'm just going to say these words out loud, and you're just going to have to live with them. It's like Metallica meets New Order. Okay? The bridge section of Enter Sandman, if it was played by New Order. Now listen, I'm not the best music critic on YouTube, okay? But that is the best thing that's ever been said on YouTube. So, you're welcome, world. Metallica playing New Order. I love the vocal harmonies, the duet with herself on the bridge, singing these words, past and present and future are connected. And then this is the thing. I still haven't told you what the best song is on the album. And what's cool is, I know when there's a good album, when I'm excited to figure out what the last song is. When I'm excited to figure out what the last song is, it means I feel like I've been on a journey. And it feels like I'm ready for something closing, some kind of statement, some kind of overarching image. Not just a collection of singles, but a full album, which are my favorite kinds of albums. So that leads into what is the best song on the album, Thick Skull. Okay? Great, beautiful song. Guitar and voice to lead, these interesting lyrics. I'm a magnet for broken pieces. I'm attracted to broken people. I pick them up and now my fingers are bleeding and it looks like my fault and it looks like I'm caught red-handed. Everything kind of comes together. She's back in this self-centered mode where she's commenting on herself, but then she's also talking about her attraction to chaos, which was in that previous song where she's talking about her life and about how she's always looking for disorder and disorganized. And it feels like she's working through these things and she's working through these problems and trying to figure out how to find peace. And she realizes that the outside world is not going to provide that calm. And then her choices aren't going to make that kind of calm. And these are the consequences of her actions. And it's nice. I feel like we're on a journey with her, figuring out how to live life. It builds so nicely too, from the opening with the vocals and the guitar, and then this like piano, kind of sloppy, cool drums with more open hi-hats on the 2 and the 4s, and 1, tss, 3, tss, Slightly distorted guitar, I think, for the first time on the album. The voice is more assured here, and it's more acrobatic. But it's at the end, so we can take it, you know? We can take a little bit more, you know, maybe I'll let Bo go sniff that branch, you know? Maybe I'll let him go 15 feet out. Bzzz, because she matches it with more charisma. Too often when singers are just doing acrobatics or just going all out, they don't have the charisma to back it up. She does. A great instrumental bit with this great guitar solo, and then the drums and the bass and this bridge, Come Out With Your Hands Up, which ties together to the first song, This Is Why, because this whole sense of being stuck inside makes it feel like we're still in this weird kind of post-COVID moment, and she's trying to figure out, you know, like she's being arrested for breaking a broken person who was already broken when she picked her up, but still, just those lines, Come Out With Your Hands Up, it makes you realize that she's not going outside, not only because she can't trust the world, but because she can't trust herself. There we go. This is why. This is the other reason why. It's a highlight of the album, and I'm going to tell you, I love it. I love this song. I love Thick Skull. And when I listen to the album on streaming, which of course is how I've been listening to it, and I have it on repeat, and it goes into This Is Why, I'm all psyched. I'm all psyched to get the album going and going again. So there you go. There's my review of Paramore. I've been joking about you hitting the unlike button, but I'd like you to hit the like button and subscribe. I don't care about the bell thing because I don't understand what that is. I'd never hit the bell for anybody ever. So you can tell me in the comments what happens when you hit that bell. I don't know. These are my Patreons. They give me money. I buy music. I just bought the Young Fathers album. So that's good. That's coming. Hey, look at my eyebrows. So there you go. Thank you to these folks. And you can join them too, if you want. Tell me, what did I miss? What should I have said? What should I have not said? Solipsism, solipsism, solipsism. There's the camera. Solipsism.